Hi y'all, and welcome back to Seesaw Art. This is a painting that I will be demonstrating for you in this video. I'm working in acrylics. I'm using heavy body Liquitex and golden acrylics, and I'm also using the golden semi-gloss glazing medium. It helps to extend the drying time. I'm also using my Stay Wet palette, which I love, and it keeps my paints fresh for multiple sessions. This piece probably took me about 4 days to complete. It's on a 16 by 20 canvas board, which I used because I consider this one as a practice piece. The main purpose of this video is to show how I mixed the skin tones. If you're interested, follow along. If you have any questions or comments, please make sure you leave them in the section below, and I'll be sure to answer them. Let's get started. I'm going to start off with this transparent mixing white. I've not done many many portraits or skin tones before, just a few, and I felt like they were kind of chalky looking, and I think that's from the titanium white, so I'm going to try this mixing white and see if that helps. I'm going to use some of this raw sienna and a little yellow oxide. And a little bit of my cad. It's very little. Cadmium red's a pretty strong color. Just to warm it up a tiny bit more. This almost looks like makeup, like a makeup color. Some more yellow oxide, some more white, mixing white. I'm going to try a little touch of this ultramarine blue. Wow, that makes it almost greenish looking, which might work for a mermaid painting. I think I'll put a little more, tiny bit of the red in there. and some burnt umber. I want to make a shadow color. It's not bad. A little more burnt umber. I like that. I think that'll be a good shadow color. You really have to press down kind of hard with this palette knife to get an homogeneous pile. And I'm just using toilet tissue, wipe my palette knife. And I want to brighten this up, so I'm going to add some of my yellow and some white. Probably didn't need to take that quite that much. I'd like to try to lighten it without adding too much of this white. Yellow is a very good lightener as long as you don't have any blue in it, and I didn't have any blue in this part of the mixture. A little bit more. Pretty yellow now. Add a touch of this permanent rose, about like that, and some more of this transparent mixing white. I'm wanting to make this a highlight color. Okay, a lot more of that. Oh yeah, that looks good. I like that. This looks like an unappealing color to me. So I think I want to warm that up. Just going to play with this. Add a little more of the red. I think that looks a little more lively compared to that one. one more. I'm going to put some of this burnt sienna in it and see how that looks. A little more. Oh yeah, I like that. It's a little darker but warmer. This one definitely has a greenish cast to it. This looks like a good highlight color. This looks like a medium tone. This one looks a little too yellow, like I don't think I'll even use this, but I can add it to these other piles and use it as a kind of a medium to adjust one way or another. So I think we'll use these colors. We'll see how that looks. And again, I did not use any titanium white in these colors, and I'm hoping that it'll prevent me from having a chalky look on my figure. I sped up this portion of the video so it's not so tedious to watch. I used a very watered down mix of titanium white to draw in the outline of the figure. And I'm starting with my darkest skin tone that we just mixed to block in the figure. And there will be a lot of back and forth, adding highlights and adding midtones, but this is just the start. I did not include painting in the background for this video due to the length of the video if I had included all of that. But I did use my glazing medium to help me with the blending, and I'll be doing a video on that topic very soon. I find that having used that zinc or transparent mixing white, the colors are pretty transparent. And so we're having to use a lot of layers to cover up the underpainting, which was the background before. But that's okay. It gives us a chance to build up some texture. I used the lightest color that we mixed up to block in the hands, and my idea then was to use the darker colors to indicate the shadows between the fingers and the crease of where her finger and her thumb meet her hand. And then I'm just going to block in the rest of her torso and her right arm in the same way that we just did the other one. I'm using a very soft, very small, round brush to apply additional glazes and additional layers of paint. I'm using the same colors that we mixed up at the first part of this video, but I also mixed another color which was permanent rose, yellow oxide, and plenty of that zinc white. It makes a really nice highlight color that's warm and soft. I've mixed up a very pale blue with plenty of titanium white in it, and we're painting in the ripples of the water that's caused from the movement of her body coming up out of the water, and then we'll add the very brightest white at the end for our highlights. And I'm using pale blue, phthalo green, plenty of yellow, and plenty of white. But I do want there to be a bluish cast to it because it's her torso that is under the water. So now we're going to add some water drops. I'm using this small, flat, soft brush, and I'm dipping just the corner of it into my paint pile. I started with the same pale blue that we used when we put in the ripples in the surface of the water. That's dried, and now I'm adding just pure titanium white, again just using the corner of my brush, and just dabbing on these little highlights. You don't want to do the whole things, just a few. That makes it really sparkle, I think. It adds movement to the piece, and I think it enhances the composition and looks fairly realistic, again to show that movement like she's just coming up out of the water. I'm going to add just a few more little white sparkles on the actual ripples and some little splashes where the water is dripping off of her arms and hitting the surface of the ocean water. And that's just kind of dabbing the little bits of white on. Well, I think that just about does it. I sure have enjoyed working on this piece. I hope you might have picked up a tip or two. There are tons of recipes for color mixing for skin tones. We tried a few here, and working on something like this where it's a fantasy piece where you're not exactly trying to match a real person, it's a good exercise for this. Anyway, I'd appreciate if you'd leave me a like or a comment in the section below, and I will hopefully be putting out another video very soon. Thank you so much for watching.